remember that you're a couple, that you're a romantic couple, that you're not friends. So how did you keep your
That,
romance alive, Rick?
uh, well, that's for a whole different video. Uh,
Thank you so much for tuning into Second Act TV. Today I am so happy to welcome back my friend, my colleague, fellow YouTuber, Rick Higgins. Rick, thank you so much for joining me again.
it is a pleasure to be back.
Well, Rick is the founder of Mastering the Second Half. He's been on the show before. I'll link to our segments. Just about a year ago, you were here and we talked about regret, about, stuff that you've wanted to do, bucket list items, and you look back and you don't want to be that person that didn't do it. And, one of yours is travel the world and see the world, which is a big bucket item for lots of our audience, or lots of our people in our demographic. They want to retire and all we want to do is travel. But is that a good idea? Is long-term travel a good idea? Let's talk about that. Let's talk about what you and Nikki, your partner Nikki, bless her heart. I saw your videos. And I'm like, oh my God, I don't know how they're doing this, but they're fabulous.
It is a challenge at times, absolutely. When you're sitting at home and you can go get away from each other if you really want to. You can find a place in your house to get rid of the other person for 5 minutes. But when you are in an Airbnb, when you're in a little teeny small hotel or something, you can't. And at first it feels kind of wonderful. Hey, I'm with my sweetie, with my honey, we're doing everything together. And then after a little while, you could do that for a vacation for a week. But then all of a sudden you're joined at the hip. And then it becomes an expectation. It's like, okay, well, everywhere I want to go, they have to go with me, and vice versa. And you realize at some point, you're starting to get a little upset. You're starting to get like, why don't they want to go with me? Why aren't they doing what I want to do? And the truth is, you're two individual people, and it's perfectly fine, normal, expected, desirable to go out and do things separately and then come back together and talk about it. And I think that's a problem with a lot of long-term travelers, is they just go from being individuals to together, and then they think everything is together, and that's just not healthy.
Yeah. You brought up a good word, expectations. I read here in an article, I'll link to it, Paul Heller did a great 50 Plus Nomad as an organization that, talks about long-term travel as a couple. But tempering expectations, or perhaps talking about what your expectations really are. And I should say that your travel is pretty extreme at times. I mean, you love to get right into the dirt, the filth, the beauty. It's not, you're not on a cruise in the cabin.
No,
So I
it's
think that
pretty
would,
much climbing to the top of a Mayan pyramid. So yeah.
yeah, yeah. So how did you? I mean, did you and Nikki talk about this? How did you come to an agreement to even do this?
Well, the agreement to do this was actually out of kindness on her part. I was doing what everyone else does, just sort of working towards retirement. And I just kind of had a burnout. I kind of said, I can't keep doing this hoping I'm still healthy when I'm 70. Let's just quit the job. Let's go off and do things now, and then we can come back and work for the rest of our lives. And she was very kind and she agreed to it. And we sort of said, okay, well, where do you want to go first? Where do you want to go first? And we just kind of each took a turn. She got to go pick first. We went down to Central America. Then I decided to go to Europe. And that's usually what people think is the difficult part, is picking where to go next. And that can be a little stressful. But the bigger problem that we had was, once you're kind of there, and now you have to learn how to live as a couple in a brand new place. And it feels like you're restarting over and over a lot. And there's a lot of learning, a lot of challenges that you're not quite expecting, as opposed to just, spending 4 days on a cruise ship where, it's pretty easy to still be yourself.
You brought up, all the togetherness all the time. They also say that me time is incredibly important. And, how do you get me time? I guess just separate for the day, or?
A lot of time, that's basically what we did. But actually, it kind of brings up another problem with long-term travel. If you're an introverted kind of person and you want to have me time by yourself, it's really hard when you're traveling. You don't have your dedicated space. I'm lucky. I'm a bit of an extrovert. I can go forth and be in a crowd, and I'm having my me time. So Nikki, I think, also prefers to have a little quiet time to herself. So I think that's the bigger problem when you have in a relationship is not only do you have to have me time and together time, you got to have the correct me time and together time. Your partner may need to have the hotel room all to themselves, and so you get the heck out. There's a whole lot of dynamics involved in that, and it was something that you really, really have to learn. And also, there's the converse of it. You have to realize when you have to be together, it's not always about managing the separation. It's when you are together, how do you make sure you have that quality time? Because you're in a different place, in a different mindset, and it can be very different indeed.
Yeah. Well, that's another good point that I saw here too, is that remember that you're a couple, that you're a romantic couple, that you're not friends. So how did you keep your romance alive?
Well, that's for a whole different video. That's actually something that is surprisingly, when I read that article, that I'm like, yeah, he's absolutely right. Because when you're out traveling, the expectation is that you're traveling, and you got to remember that you're still you're still a couple. You still need to be intimate. You still need to have romantic time. And just to do the things you normally would do in any given day, you get this mindset that, oh, I'm out here in the world, I have to be out here in the world. Well, nobody can do that 24/7.
Right. You brought up another good point, and that is, how to define what me time or alone time is. Because for some, alone time can actually be with other people. Like we said, to where others, you have to be alone. But I would guess, and did you guys do this, that do you meet a lot of people on the road? Is socializing, does that bring in a whole other aspect too, good or bad?
Yes, we are lucky in that we are both very much people. I mean, there's nobody that we're not going to sit there and talk to for 30 hours or something. Every person we meet, we are very comfortable in groups and meeting new folks, and we actually seek it out. But I imagine there's a lot of other couples who are either, they don't want to do that, or one is one and one is the other. And I think you would normally go through that on a day-to-day basis anyway, but when you're out there into the world, you no longer have the comfort and security of your common routines. And so you have to remember what your partner's expectations are, because a lot of times they just don't voice it. I know I wouldn't do that. I would just, well, maybe she's reading my mind. Maybe she'll understand what I need, and vice versa. But when you're in a situation when you're not in that normal, I think I can read her mind mindset, you have to be vocal. You have to say what you want and need, and the other person has to listen.
Yeah, great advice. That would be probably one of my biggest problems, because I would want to accommodate. That's just what I do. And then the resentment builds, and then finally I'll blow up. Not that's not good. Especially on the road, right?
True. But see, that's the problem when you are not in your normal comfort zone, is that your mindset is being on vacation, being on travel, being on that cruise, and you really tend to forget that you got to take a little extra steps. Otherwise, that natural instinct of yours, because I have the same thing as you, by the way, I let things build up, and then you got to kind of work a little harder to prevent that.
Mm-hmm. Well, one other recommendation to your point here is, if you're going to attempt this, you need to have the same temperament, the same type of personality, like the same things, and like to hang out together, because you're going to do a lot of hanging out. Would you agree with that?
I would. You do definitely need to have some commonality, some things that you enjoy doing. Being, we like to go to dinner together. We like to go to a museum. You also have to kind of be willing to venture into the other person's comfort zone. There's a lot of things that, for instance, I enjoyed doing. She may have been on the cusp on, but she went halfway. Mm-hmm. We were in Iceland, and I wanted to go hike on the glacier. Well, she hiked up to the glacier with me. So it's not an either or, black and white. You can kind of do things together, and then one person can continue on and the other person can stay in their comfort zone.
See, I think that would be difficult for me too. And it's insecurity on my part, or maybe even immaturity. But if we're together, then I feel like we should do things together. I could see that being an issue.
Oh, it is that because that's my mindset. I'm like, why isn't she on this glacier with me?
Yes.
Why isn't she blah 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 blah? And then you have this realization. It's like because she's not you, because she has her own mind, her own thoughts, her own feelings. Maybe she doesn't want to walk on a glacier. And when you look back, there's certainly things that the other person has asked of you, and you're like, I really didn't want to do that. Should I feel bad because I'm not joined at the hip? But it's give and take. I don't even want to use the word compromise. It's just allowing people to be who they are and maximizing what you do share together.
I admire you. I really do, because you took such a risk. You quit your job, and just you did what you wanted to do, to a degree that 90% of the people would not do what you guys are doing, and you're making it work with challenges, and all. Let me get a little nosy. What can you share with us? What was there like a worst time that you can share that others could learn from too, and then a best time at best? So let me ask you about the worst one.
Well, the best was easy, just everything else except for the worst. The worst was our Airbnb in Barcelona. What we were able to get was about the size of a closet. It was the ultimate in togetherness next to a really, really busy road that there was just 24/7 cars screaming by. We spent a month in there. So yeah, that was the absolute worst because you're packing two people into the worst possible environment. And it wasn't good. It really wasn't good at all. It really did challenge our relationship, just not so much as a couple, but as individuals, because you couldn't wake up in the morning because all of a sudden the person was 1 inch away from you and you couldn't make noise. It became a real challenge in commitment, a real challenge in how do I be nice and still take care of myself and not flame out at this other person, because that's what you wanted to do. But it was the environment speaking. It wasn't the people. And in that case, we put ourselves in a situation where we really, really did test the boundaries of our love together.
Well, I'm glad you got through it, because Nikki is wonderful. I mean, what a great partner for you to be able to share all this. What do you think you learned as a couple? If I ask that question, anything pop to mind?
Oh, it's more of what have you relearned. It just kind of seems to, for me, everything that you think you know about a relationship, when you put it into a different place, you almost feel like you're kind of relearning it in a different context. And in a way that's very enjoyable. I don't want to make it sound like it's negative, like, oh my God, I screwed up and I have to relearn this thing. But you kind of get to relearn your partner just by putting yourself in a different place and doing different things. All of a sudden you get to see a different side of them. And it's really kind of exciting and enjoyable to like, oh, look how they're acting here. Look how I'm acting there. And I think it can really help a relationship. Otherwise, you're just sitting next to each other in Barca loungers watching the Weather Channel, and you know how the other person's going to act that way. Put yourself on top of a mountain, and you can act a little differently.
What a great point. What a great point. I think Nick actually said that in one of his videos when I did. Nick, you're going to go see him. He's another fellow YouTuber, but he said he discovered things about his 30-year marriage by doing van life that he never knew about his wife. And that is really something to consider.
Yeah, and it's both a danger zone and an opportunity. I choose to think of it as an opportunity, until it hits the danger zone. But I really enjoy seeing how Nikki reacts to certain things like, hey, let's go do this, or hey, let's go do that. And to see her reaction, to see her enjoyment, or maybe it's the opposite. It is a fun opportunity to see a little bit deeper into your partner. Not in a examine way, are you doing what I want you to do, but just like hey, that's pretty cool. I never thought of thinking about it that way, because you're in an environment where you can see something new.
Yeah, and that's and what a great thing to share with your partner. That's so there. I mean, obviously, is a lot of upside to it. I can honestly say it's not for me. I know that. If Paul or I did it, it'd have to be a golf vacation all over the world. And that would be the built-in separation time. So, lots to consider there. Rick, again, your videos are so good. I mean, they are television quality, Travel Channel. I really want people to see this. And they're fun, they're entertaining. I really envy you in a sense that you're living exactly what you want to do. I know it's not without its challenges, but what a credit to you. Is there anything else that you want to leave with us before we end today?
Other than to kind of repeat myself, and that's just allow yourself to be flexible in that relationship. Allow yourself to discover new things and allow your partner to do the same thing because you're both on separate journeys, even though you're in the same room and in the same train. Just understand that. Use it to your advantage, not to your detriment.
Great advice. Well, Rick, we will link to your channel. Of course, so everybody can check it out. And it was so great having you back. And I hope to talk to you again soon on Second Act TV. If you haven't done so already, please be sure to subscribe to our channel. The button is right here. Just click on through to YouTube, and when you see the little bell right next to the subscribe button, hit that too, and we'll notify you every time we launch a new video. See you next time.